Good evening. Welcome to the first Art Matters apéro. I usually do lunchtime talks and then also big talks in the big hall. And the apéro, it's a nice sunny day after work on your way home. You come and have a drink and let's have a chat and let's, have a backstage pass into the minds of two contemporary artists, incredible artists, and my very special guests. And for those of you who are new, who haven't been to one of my sessions before, Art Matters is very simple. It's a very simple question. Why does art matter? As the world, as it's losing its humanity, as the world is falling apart, how might art help us negotiate the complexities and contradictions of what it means to be alive today? And these talks they're not academic. You're not here to talk about Michael's next exhibition, which opens next week in Paris at David Zwirner Gallery. We are here to talk about the person who made the paintings. We're also here to talk about an incredible, not opera singer, but you've also started a new collective, right?
Right.
We'll talk about that.
Right.
Okay. Why does art matter, Michael?
As far as I'm concerned, I think that art is very important because we need a certain level of poetic experience in our existence to level everything. I think most people realize that or have experienced that already. So we need poetry, we need visual poetry, we need music. Life would be unbearable without it. So it is a bit like necessary, just like food. So I think the question on itself is a bit absurd, really. So it's a given thing that we need, that it's essential. I cannot imagine someone living without it. Some people do, kind of or seem to do, and they're a bit in trouble when you see it happen, when they don't have this level of poetry in their lives.
It's a very interesting answer, and of course it begs the question, to state the obvious. Long before we had cities or villages or temples, people went into the back of a cave and made art. I mean, it is the thing that defines us as human, and the need to make art has always been there and part of us. But today it's a very special, particularly interesting moment. I mean, we spoke a little bit earlier about this kind of crisis that the art world or the image making is going through in an age of generative AI and Instagram and TikTok, where a lot of people will find their poetry online or through a machine-made beautiful image. What's your job?
My job? Well, I'm part of the market as well, which is a complicated situation, really. But what I experience is that there's such an abundance of art on the market, which is it is a bit disturbing sometimes because there's more and more and more. But the level of quality is getting thinner. And the art market is also part of consumerism. So the difference between value, intrinsic value of an artwork, and market value is getting confused. And that's a problem we are dealing with right now.
How do you manage that yourself when the things you make with your heart? When you take your fears or your traumas or your hopes or your desires and you translate them into these incredibly powerful images that get turned into a price tag and people buy as investment, and you become a trophy for collectors. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, collecting art is more like collecting trophies for a lot of collectors, I see. And they all have similar collections. I prefer to see collectors who collect in a much more personal way, and some do. They make very personal choices based on qualities the artworks have, sometimes of totally unknown artists. So that's always more interesting. But I forgot your question exactly. Can you repeat it?
Let's shift the question. Is it, I mean, when we make a work of art, we're not there in the room. Our work is in the room. But when you are performing, you are in the room. How is it different? Because your body, your voice is there in the room. Does art matter more when you are present in the room?
That's a really tough question. I would say that there are two ways that art matters. Like the first is what you said, it's like art matters to the person who makes it, but there is with performance or with like concerts or whatever form it has, there is also the receiver, the person who's listening or the person who's watching, and that is a very different element. Also, what I do is different every time, even though you try to be the best you can. Obviously, it's really there are always different circumstances. Your body is not the same every day. The space is different. Your colleagues are different. But I would say that it's always a very personal experience. And there's also a magic thing that happens when you're performing music or when you're performing opera or anything. That is that the energy of the audience also influences your performance. You can sense it. I can sense it now. You feel a certain kind of span of attention, of focus, or not, and that is your connection with your audience, and that's very direct, and it's also very influential. And I think with painting, it's very different. Painting doesn't have a timing. You can make your own timing, but what we have in common is that what we all do is like bring some kind of very, very personal, intimate fiction to people. You bring it from inside to outside, and I think it's not why does art matter, but art matters because when it's really good, I think it articulates some dormant dreams that every person, but also every society has, something subconscious, and it shows you where we are going from here. And I think that's part of the magic, because we're all going there all together. We're all living in these times, and art, it doesn't have to be contemporary art, but art tells you something about you right now, and that's crazy important.
In one of the previous talks, I interviewed Marina Abramovic, and she said that she creates these performances in which the artist suffers and does these incredibly intense things with her body so that the audience doesn't need to suffer. So the audience, there's a kind of a channeling going on. And Michael, you make paintings of extremely, they can be violent, they can be absurd, they can be even traumatic images, some of them. Are you thinking, I mean, there's also a lot of comedy in your paintings, which I'd like to talk about as well, but are you thinking when you're making a work, and I know that there's a lot of intuition going on and that you're working very much in a channeling process, but do you think that paintings such as yours help the viewer or the collector process difficult experiences of life?
I don't think about it that way. I like to think of my work as being very ambiguous and unclear, because things are very unclear in this life. So an artwork is always a reflection of an experience, it's pretty much my experience which I expose. It's very simple, really. Writers do that. Architects do that. I feel the urge to do that myself. And if someone, it's a very implicit form of communication with others. It is communication, basically. I'm very happy that I get the platform that I have to show it on. Although it's a modest platform, it's not big media, but I like the way it works, and I hope I can reach people with it for reflection or whatever.
I mean, you certainly do reach people. I mean, there have been controversies about some works, but you are also a self-taught artist in the sense that you studied at art school, you studied photography, and
and graphic arts.
And graphic arts. But then you made a decision to study different techniques, and you taught yourself this technique of painting.
Yeah.
Did you do that because photography was unable to give you a means to say what you felt the need to say?
No, when I was like 24, 25, I knew I had to make the decision. I mean, I was fascinated by photography, and I knew a lot about it, and I'm certain I would make a nice career as a photographer. But then I said, is this really what I want to do, or do I want to see it broader, or maybe I don't think I really know what medium I should work in. I had to explore more, and so I followed that path, and it led me to painting. I only started painting when I was in my mid-30s, but I did a lot of drawing before, of course, it's just because I found out that a painting, when you make a painting, when you show a painting, you make a statement, and it's a strong statement, and people have attention for it. You don't have that when you use a photograph, because it's a much more it's a less opaque medium. People don't see the artifact; they see the image, and they forget the artifact. Whereas a painting is an artifact, and I like this medium. It's old. It's in our culture. It's in our history, and you can still reinvent it. It's just like literature, really. Nobody ever questions literature. They do. We do question painting, but for me, it's a very similar thing. And every generation finds its new painters and redefines the language.
Maybe it's also interesting because we're speaking about something ancient versus something modern, and I know that, for instance, you're quite interested in a more punk attitude in terms of music. More, rock and roll, I
like all kinds of music.
Exactly, all kinds of music. But would you say, Elise, in terms of music, what he is painting is the equivalent of classical music, or do you see his work as more contemporary?
I would say it is a very technically skilled contemporary interpretation of a very personal thing, is what I would say. I think it has it has so much technique, which is something you rarely see with contemporary painting nowadays, which is something I like very much. I'm very happy I like it because I got to look at it every day. But it's definitely contemporary painting.
I mean, you speak a lot, for instance, about light. In your studio, the light in the painting, but also the light in the studio. Light is an important subject. which is very connected to photography, which is fascinating that you speak about your paintings as if they were photos, or your process in terms of the Belgian light and the certain times in the day you won't paint because you don't have the right light.
I always had the feeling that I could digest light, that I could read light. Maybe it was because of my training as a photographer. My grandfather already was. I was in the darkroom since I was 3, so I know it's much in my backbone in a way. And we only see because there's light. Light sculpts everything, and it's very beautiful to see that happen. And I like it. I enjoy it. I enjoy how light falls, how light gets diffused by moisture or whatever in nature, or how it comes into a building, how it falls on an object. I mean, it's a joy daily. So you just have to open up for it, and then you see it happen.
But your subjects are dark.
Sometimes, not always.
Let's talk about humor.
I painted flowers recently with a heavy orange background, so it depends on my mood, I guess. But
by and large, your subjects are quite dark. But there's also this underlying sense of humor implicit in almost every work.
Yeah. I see. But yeah, it's very subtle sometimes. Sometimes it's very outspoken, and always ambiguous. Also, humor is very important. I think it's a necessary ingredient because it makes things more relative, makes you question things in a more relative way, and you can never take yourself too serious. So it also undermines your own seriousness and attitude. It's very important as well in every art form, in literature, in film. It's beautiful to have humor. Humor is the sauce that makes everything digestible, I think, in life.
And the art world is not a very funny place, is it?
Oh, excuse me?
The art world is not a very funny place.
It's the market is hard.
Yes. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, I mean, they love you when you sell. So, I mean, we have to face that. Huh? And it's incredibly hard for a young artist to get there and to stay there even. Also in music, it's the same, I think. It's opera world. I learned it from Elise. It's incredibly hard. You can never get sick. You can never. You have to be there. You have to perform, and if you don't, you get dropped. It's even worse, I think.
Yeah, we talked about this earlier, right? Like when you are in the arts, it's like everybody's your best friend as long as you're very successful. But nobody is or feels extremely successful all the time, you know?
My gallery went bankrupt in London and he didn't even bother calling me.
Yeah.
That's a tragedy. But
friendship, huh?
speaking of hardships, I think for you, particularly in the world of opera, you suffered enormously during COVID.
Yeah, we all did. Yes.
But you found beautiful solutions.
I did. I kind of surprised myself. I didn't know I have it in me. But so I started being an opera singer when I was very young, when I was like 17. So when COVID hit, I was in my 30s, and I already had almost 20 years of career. So COVID was like this huge surprise for everybody, and I think a lot of people went through a personal transformation for the good or for worse, for better or for worse. And for me personally, it was a major discovery, also in the human sense of not being working, because when you are a singer with a certain career level, then you actually travel. You're constantly away, like 10 or 11 months a year, and then the other month you kind of sleep and prepare. So it was incredible to be in one place and to slowly build human connections that are not at all related to your work, because when you're working, you're always with your colleagues, and those are your friends, and those are your, that's your life. But there is, like we said, there is always a price tag on who you are and what you can do and what you can do for somebody else. And so I learned very late in life that it doesn't have to be like that, that you can, be part of a community, to also feel more stable, be happier. I became a much happier person, and I also...
And you went from opera to lullabies.
Yeah, like my first project during COVID, I was like, well, I can't sit around and do nothing. So I called up a friend, and we were in different places because I was in London at the time. I was living in London. And we were not allowed to be with two persons in the same room for about a month, and then it all changed, and you know how it was. But she played the piano part, and I actually wanted to do lullabies because they create instant intimacy, and so many people were saying they were so lonely and they were alone and they were so afraid of the virus. And I don't know if you remember the panic, but some people really went nuts or panicked. And so I started recording these lullabies videos, and she would play the piano part and I would sing to it, and that was really hard to do actually because it was separate. And I just I broadcasted them on a YouTube channel, and then all of a sudden they became quite successful without ever being meant. I just meant to, offer something that could maybe comfort somebody. And it was the start of a discovery of impact, maybe, you can have with art. And for me, I'm just continuing this journey very much. So we have a new ensemble called the Now Collective, which is built of excellent musicians.
Follow on Instagram.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
if you want to follow it on Instagram, we have 100 followers now, and we're trying to grow.
I hope we're going to have how many people in the room?
Yeah. No, but we launched it last week, and so the pledge is for every major concert we do, for Flanders Festival or for the KMSKA Museum in Antwerp, we do one for people who can't make it to the concert halls. So we play for palliative people, or we play for detention centers, prisons, or elderly people's homes. And it's been a wild journey also for the musicians, who are the best we have now here in Belgium, to discover that you can bring such emotion to people for whom it might be their last concert, etc.
But you're also saying that art gives hope, which is that's an interesting way to say that art matters, because it does bring hope and helps us to see things that we can't see. And perhaps in the Middle Ages, the artist was painting demons or angels, and today artists are painting other things or creating other things in order to give form to our fears. Michael, earlier you spoke about that it's very difficult today to know, there's too many artists, and it's very difficult to know how do we distinguish a good artist and a bad artist, or a good work or a bad work, because we've lost the language in a way, or the references.
The cause is also the abundance of art everywhere. I mean, there's no harm in having too much art. I mean, it's very good in a way, but at the same time, I don't know. I think today we have a system of art galleries, art fairs, biennials, things like that. And I think, I believe that there's some tiredness coming in this system. And I hate it. I'm not an average art customer. I'm an artist myself, so my experience is, I mean, most artists hate to go to art fairs. so many beautiful things on one heap. It's too much. I mean, I cannot handle that. I really can't. I don't go to Venice. I mean, my God, it's hard. I mean, it's really difficult to take this all in. You know, I'm too sensitive, I guess. My favorite way of seeing an artwork is by surprise. When I'm not intending to go see an artwork and I see one in a beautiful place, that's the best.
Do you
and
have
just one artwork is enough.
Can you share an anecdote of one work that you recently had that experience with?
Well, it was planned, but the best exhibition I've ever experienced consisted of 5 paintings. And it was in I went to go there, I went to see it on purpose. It was not by accident, but ideally, in my fantasy, it would be by accident. I enter in a place and there's a beautiful artwork. Oh my God, it's the best. That's the best. That would be in my fantasy. It doesn't happen often, but no. The exhibition I was talking about was an exhibition of fine paintings of Jean-Siméon Chardin, a Rococo painter. And throughout his life, he painted a certain theme like 5 or 6 times in different periods in his life. And it was called the House of Cards. And it was a person building a house of cards, with, you know, symbolically very interesting. And there was a castle, a 19th century or 18th century castle, with a lot of fantasy architecture, very eclectic. They used it, I think, for Alice in Wonderland, the English version. And they collected, they were able to get 5 of these paintings together that were in different parts of the world. So it was the only time these paintings got together in one room. And they were all marvelous. And I was so moved. But he's one of my favorite painters because he's very, although he's a genre painting, his work is meditative. It's. I mean, every generation enjoys it. It's much more than a still life, what he shows, or a scene, a household scene. And to see this together was like one of the best experiences I had with art ever. But then again, when I go to a museum and I see this very small Jan van Eyck in Keimersky in Antwerp, it's... I mean, he made some motherfucker paintings. I mean, I cannot get through to it still, and it's that old.
And there's also the big one in Ghent.
But you can have this with a Rothko when it's in a certain place. We don't need too much art. We need good art, and we need it installed well. And we don't need this abundance all the time. I really start to hate it, me, myself.
I absolutely agree about Van Eyck. I have to once a year make a pilgrimage to Ghent, to cathedral, to see the Lamschots, the Adoration of the Magi. What an incredible, remarkable... I mean, you stand there for hours trying to decode this painting. Yeah. You can't decode it. It is so generous. It's so generous. It's like an endless buffet of color and symbolism and literature and abundance of information.
It is amazing. But we went last year to go to the Louvre just to see the Orphelin that Luc Tuymans painted, the wall painting, which was a temporary painting. Mm-hmm. But that was like a similar experience, you know? It's such a good painting, and you're privileged to see it because the future generations will not see it anymore because it's a temporary work. It was there for only 1 year, I think. That's very strong as an impact for a spectator, I think.
Are you comparing Luc Tuymans to Jan van Eyck?
Well, I have to admit he's an extremely good artist.
That's the ultimate compliment coming from one artist who's an extremely good artist.
He's an extremely good artist. Yeah, absolutely.
The audience is smiling. I guess they all agree. But, so we spoke earlier about the generic museums. When you walk into a museum in America, in Germany, less so in Belgium, but where you walk in and you have a Donald Judd on the wall, you have a Carl Andre on the floor, you have an Andy Warhol.
Boring. I mean
Yeah. Why? Okay. But these are all great artists and great works.
Of course.
But it's the kind of
Museums of modern art are very, very conservative. They should be much more adventurous or experimental. Museums of contemporary art also, it's oftentimes it's very predictable what they do. So we need a bit more punk attitude amongst curators, I think.
You laughed earlier when I said you like punk, but
That's
Elise,
what I think.
you were an artist in residence at the KMSK. How did you deal with that process of being in the building and curating what was happening?
Yeah, I like punk too. So hey, no. So at the KMSK, I'm artist in residence. So I have my own series where we do concerts where the music is axed or like in relation to one or two works that are hanging on the wall, and that is a very dynamic thing actually, and that gives. It's different every time. The format is different every time. The musicians are different every time. The way we do it, sometimes it's a whole walk through the museum. Sometimes it's a very static thing at one painting. But it gives a lot of depth. It works both ways. Like the music gets an image, literally, and the image gets like, it's like you interchange text and context in a way, right? Like you start from the painting here, like what music goes with this, what makes sense, what's the message. And so my season is about power and powerlessness. We chose it because we think a lot of people experience it right now. And it's been very interesting to see that when the music and the painting comes together, that a lot of people feel a lot of things. I get a lot of emails about it. I get a lot of reaction, and that's nice and unexpected. I really thought like classical music and paintings, who's gonna come? But actually, it turns out like a lot of people love it and are interested. Nice.
I mean, you spoke earlier about the Venice Biennale, and what does fascinate me is the pavilions that are being spoken about. The Belgian pavilion with Mitwarlop, which is partly sponsored by the TheMerode, supporting the pavilion, but also the Austrian pavilion, and both are coming from theatre backgrounds, entertainment backgrounds, with moving bodies, with things happening. And what you're also saying is that, you know, bringing in the music or I mean, do you think that there's a problem with the way the art language has evolved in the last 100 years?
No, but I think it keeps evolving, and it's very interesting to experiment with formats and with ways things are experienced or shown. I'm a big fan of like silence and being alone in a space and seeing artworks. But it's also, I think performance is, I really think it's quite cool and also very of these times that both Austria and Belgium are these very punk actually girls, women showing what femininity can look like now, and it looks very powerful.
Very punk femininity, but very strong.
And also strong and maybe angry and funny, and it's very challenging for the performers, but also for the people who are watching it. And I think that's awesome, but it's definitely not the only way to experience art or the biennial But I do agree that the biennial is a lot to take in. And I don't know if it's possible to actually take it all in. So, yeah.
But it's, I mean, the Venice Biennale became like the art phase about consumerism, about overabundance, almost like a gluttony. Michael, do you think that there's a need today to revisit our language of art? Do you think it's time to consider a new format?
Well, I think we have to constantly think about it, and because we need to evolve. I'm an artist in my studio. I need to evolve myself too, you know. And I think formats in how we're showing art is something to consider all the time. Art fairs are also fairly new. When did they start? In the 70s? 80s?
Well, it depends on
when they
how
became
we,
big, you know?
Yeah, sure, but it depends also how we... I mean, the art fair itself has had various different evolutions before the Lehman Brothers crash, after COVID. But, I mean, in a way, the art fair, in my opinion, goes right back to the salon in Paris. It's not really very different than the salon.
But much bigger.
The salons were big.
Were they big?
They just
I always think of a salon. You know?
I mean, they had the paintings on the wall, cheek by jowl, floor to ceiling, and they were. I think they were even in the Grand Palais or the.
Grand
I mean,
Palais.
it was. I mean, the salon was hosting. I mean, I might be wrong. I mean, are the experts in the room on the salon? Was it in the Grand Palais? I mean, it was certainly in that area around the Grand Palais, but the salon was really okay. It was hosted and sponsored by the state. But it was really a case where artists it was a competition. Artists would enter. If they got chosen, the works would go on a wall. It became the most prestigious thing. And in a certain moment, you mentioned Chardin, and there's a certain moment where the art became about a certain kind of, during the Rococo period, the late Baroque, it became about gold and pretty and beautiful and flowers and lightness, and I mean, there's the fantastic...
It was a form of escapism.
It was a total form of escapism. And we all the way back there right now. And that escapism also is more or less concurrent in terms of living memory with the French Revolution, which is extremely violent. And I do find it so interesting today when we think about the violence that's going on in the world today. Like the incredible violence, which is inescapable. Every time you go on your telephone, you're seeing violence, like extreme violence. And then you go to the art fair and you're seeing lovely, pretty, colorful...
No, there's a lot of engaged work also, engaged paintings about violence, about race, about ethnicity. I mean, which is a good thing.
You clearly don't go to art fairs.
Oh, I don't know. No, I don't. That's
yes,
what I think.
In the market, there's engagement. There is engaged. But by and large, I mean, I think the predominance today, a lot of artists are avoiding... Because the contradictions are so enormous. Yeah. In the same ways, we've lost the sense of how to read a work of art, how to judge a work if it's good or bad, except by the price. Artists also don't know anymore how to digest and process what we're experiencing because of the acceleration, because this today is different than last week or last year or 4 years ago. And we imagine from COVID through the wars until today, I mean, you can't breathe. You don't know what's going to happen next. I'm afraid to listen to the news. Yeah. Is the model of art as we understand it today adequate for describing the experiences that we're having?
I'm not so much aware of what is on the market, you know.
No,
I can only speak
for yourself.
myself.
I mean, do you find your language?
I think nowadays, what is happening in the world now, you cannot unsee it. Mm-hmm. So as an artist, I have no choice but reflecting on it. Mm-hmm. So in my new exhibitions, I'm not a very political artist. I mean, not literally, but now I'm not going literally as well. But I'm referring to it.
Oh, are you talking about the show?
Maybe in a very understated way, but
in the show in Paris you're talking about?
I'm showing missiles. I'm showing things that relate to violence, but also to the market, because the market is going crazy too. The consumer market, it's questionable. The violence that's happening in the world has a direct influence on the market and on stock market and everything, and you cannot unsee that. I mean, it affects us all. So there's no other way than reflect on it in one way or another.
The beautiful thing that you mentioned about the 5 paintings of Chardin is that you also in that exhibition you could see time, because they were painted at different moments, and so you had a sense of time. We don't have that privilege anymore of time, because everything is in the instant, and it's always worse today than it was yesterday.
Well, we need another revolution, I think. A slow revolution that brings us back into... No, we need to go back to small communities and go back to a simple life, because it is richer, I think. We are going crazy these days, and I think there's a lot of value in understated things and small things, and we have to be wise about it, I think.
Speaking about simple things and simple lives and communities, you both, in your own worlds, like superstars. How does it work in terms of your relationship? Does it affect?
Well, we understand each other.
I think we're okay with it. I think we have a very simple life. I think there is what you have on the outside, and then there's what we have on the inside. It's very simple.
And do you think that he's influenced by your singing and your music and your musical presence?
Do you think so?
Well, Elise has to practice daily, so I hear her practice when I'm painting, and then I feel very, very fortunate.
And me too, because when you have a partner who doesn't enjoy your practicing, you have a hellish life. Oh, God. No, it's all good.
That's the most... I mean, I think love is the revolution. Love is really the... If we could all learn to love like that and have that kind of intense respect for one another in the house, it'll be a lot easier to respect the neighbor and the immigrant. Thank you both for this wonderful moment. Thank you.
Thank you.